Is it possible that the thing that most divides our loyalties and passions is what can inspire us all to work together? For centuries, sports has played a major role in defining the civic identity of America. Today, they hold the power and the ability to transform lives.
We're not looking for big league players, we're looking for big league people.
Ask the city of Los Angeles, who invested their profits from the 1984 Olympic Games in youth sports programs in the inner cities. Two sisters from Compton picked up a tennis racket. The rest is history. Sports allow an inspirational moment.
Oh wow, what a moment.
To ignite a battle to find a cure.
We have raised a little over $3 million.
They provide life lessons and hope, and the benefits of working together for the greater good. Most of all, sports are one of the few remaining methods we have to reach at-risk youth for positive social change. That is the power of sports.
Welcome to Power of Sports, presented by Group 1001. I'm your host, Rick Horrow. We're here in Phoenix, and there may be no greater hub for year-round sports than right here in the Valley of the Sun. In addition to pro teams in all four major sports, bowl games, motorsports, professional golf, and spring training for half of Major League Baseball, make this area one of the best in the country for sports fans. Equally impressive is Phoenix's commitment to using sports as a means to serve its residents in need, which we'll tell you all about this month on Power of Sports. Let's start things off with the team that calls Chase Field behind me home, and their incredible support of youth sports. It's part of our trip around town to talk to teams and organizations in the City Pulse. The Arizona Diamondbacks Foundation launched their D-Backs Give Back Youth Jersey program in 2014 and has had a far-reaching impact on little leagues across the state.
We originally went out and talked to all the directors of little leagues and softball leagues and asked them what their biggest challenge was. And over we heard it's the cost of uniforms. And some of these leagues were going to have to close their doors and close their gates. By us doing so, we were able to free up a lot of money. Some of them ended up waiving entry fees for the participants. Some of them redid their fields or their mounds. So it's really been a nice program for us. And now we've got nearly 100 different leagues that are taking advantage of this. And it's been over 150,000 jerseys and caps that we've given out. Now it's over 50,000 per year. They're all wearing D-backs, and they're in different colors and different looks. As the kids get older, they're even closer to the actual uniforms that we're wearing. The quality just gets better and better as the age goes up. But you know what you find now is the kids are now arguing over who's going to wear number 44, who's going to get Goldie's number, Goldschmidt. It's been such a great program, and to see kids out there with brand new fresh jerseys and caps each year, and with the D-backs represented is tremendous.
The Arizona Coyotes, their primary focus has been supporting youth hockey efforts across all demographics.
Hockey's a great game for kids to participate in. We're looking to try to get 10,000 kids involved in the game. So, you know, whether it's youth hockey in the PE classes in elementary schools, or whether we're supporting rinks or getting little girls with 6 to 8 week programs to introduce them to the game, get them to play. All those are important to us to grow the game, hockey in a non-traditional market. You know, there's not a lot of frozen ponds in Phoenix for kids to go out and play the game at. And so it's got to be in a more organized fashion. And for us, that grows the fan base and I think teaches a lot of great life skills.
And you talked about it. Let's talk about it a little more. The Raise the Pack program at 350 schools. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so bit by bit, we're rolling that out over the next 3 years. Basically a little over 100 schools a year here in the Phoenix Valley of the Sun, in Tucson, Flagstaff, throughout the rest of the state. We want to get up to 350 schools where they have ball and stick and nets and jerseys to learn to play the game, get involved with it at the elementary school and junior high level, because it's fun and easy and doesn't take a lot of equipment that way. You know, it's not as expensive as buying ice time and buying skates and all the other equipment. And it's a fun game to play in your tennis shoes with a ball and a stick.
Fiesta Bowl Charities is the core within the Fiesta Bowl organization. Its support of charitable causes across Arizona since 1971 have guided incredible change in communities through the platform of sports.
Some of these charities, it's just amazing. We had a reception recently where we had all our grant winners from last year come in, and you hear what they're doing, and you hear how well they're touching sectors of our community that we wouldn't even think about needing some help. So just by giving them the funds, they turn those funds into life-changing experiences. So it's humbling in a way.
Give us an example, the Charities Wish for a Teacher.
The concept was if we had a pot of money and said, we're going to divide it up $5,000 a piece to teachers. And we're really not going to have a big grant process. All we need is that they kind of give us what their wish would be. If you had $5,000, what would you do with it? Describe it in enough detail that we know it's a legitimate and impactful use. And we go around the state and we have celebrities and sports people pull names out. And guess what? We call them up. Here's $5,000. You go buy iPads, or you buy exercise bikes, or you create a lending library. And it's not just to help the kids, but it's to show the teachers that we appreciate what they do.
One additional impressive number on Fiesta Bowl's charitable giving. Over the past 7 years, Fiesta Bowl Charities has given over $10 million to nonprofits in the Phoenix and Arizona region. Coming up after the break, we sit down with someone who's dedicated her career to giving back. One of Sports Illustrated's top 100 women athletes of the 20th century, Lynn St. James.
Welcome to Power Sports. I'm Dan Towers, CEO of Group 1001. Along with our Delaware Life team, we're excited to help share stories of people and organizations who are using sports to connect communities and create opportunities for kids to join teams and benefit from the life lessons learned on the field, court, and track. The power of sports to transform lives is real. I see it all across our great country. Thanks to all who give so much for so many.
There's been no bigger pioneer in the world of women in auto racing than Lynn St. James. After winning the Rookie of the Year award in her first Indy 500 in 1992, St. James went on a streak of racing in the sport's most prestigious event 7 times in 9 years. Her work off the track has been just as impactful. She served as president of the Women's Sports Foundation from 1990 until 1993 and currently supports and mentors women drivers across the country as they work their way up through the racing circuit. Lynn St. James, we're here, and iconic, we're here in her house, and one of the first things you notice is the 1991 Lola that was her car in her rookie year, parentheses, winning the Rookie of the Year award that year. She started Indy 500. Very few of us have special awards hanging from their living room wall, but she does. Hi, Lynn.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you very much.
It's my friend. It's my friend.
It is your friend, and it's brought you immense success, and you are amazing professionally, philanthropically. You're a racing grandmother. We'll get into that too. We got a lot to cover. But first, let's talk about kind of the road to get you where you were. Your mom was afflicted by polio at a young age, and I assume watching her struggle and persevere gave you some inspiration in later life as well?
Probably, at the time you're not really paying that much attention. I mean, it's all about you when you're a kid.
Yeah, of course.
So, but my mom was special, and I mean, my mom also taught me how to drive, because for her, a car was everything. I mean, you and I, if we can ride a bike, we can walk to the store, to the corner, or whatever. My mom couldn't do that. So for her, that car had to be in the garage, and she knew everything about the car. So, I had to learn, about where to put the oil, how to check, the water in the radiator, and just, I had to learn things about the car before I could drive the car and the family car, and she taught me how to drive. So, I mean, I think somehow that probably morphed into who I became and who I really was but didn't know I was until later in my life.
Well, and there are also obviously seminal moments in everybody's life. You've been very active in the Women's Sports Foundation. You chaired it for a number of years, and Billie Jean King, I assume, is one of your heroes. And She rose, sorry, but it's 1973, and you remember reflecting on the Bobby Riggs, Billie Jean King match. Talk a little bit about that.
That was huge. First of all, I played tennis. Yeah. Never to the point that I'd ever thought about becoming a professional tennis player, but I mean, I played tennis. I was living in South Florida at the time, where Chrissy Everett was from, and I mean, so tennis was big. And so I watched that match on television, and it was 1973 when a lot of stuff was going on in the women's movement that I didn't relate to. but I didn't know how much impact it had on me, but it did have a lot, because in 1974 is when I actually started racing and went out to SCCA and got my competition license and all of that. So when I look back, I realized, you know, when I watched her beat Bobby Riggs and set the world on fire, because it wasn't just about a tennis match, it was about changing the way people perceive women. I think it gave me permission to do something that I wanted to do that I didn't think I could do and that I didn't know how to do yet. But I think somehow it gave me permission. It was like, you know, if she does this in national television in front of all these people, I can go out to some local racetrack and drive a race car.
So we fast forward to 92, and 26 years earlier, you go as a fan to Indy, and you can't get into Gasoline Alley because women aren't allowed there. So how does it feel the first year, 92, and you're debuting with this car, and you're not only in there, but you're in the race?
You know, I can't express how I felt because I'm not sure my feet ever touched the ground. I mean, I just was floating that entire month of realizing you're doing this. And yet I never stepped back and became, you know, a spectator of my own activity. I just was in the moment, every moment. I mean, that's the best advice. And actually, Martina Navratilova, I talked to her on the Friday before the race, because I go through the whole month. I go through rookie orientation, I pass. I go through practice, you know, don't crash. I get in the field, and then I'm like, there's this gap of time before the race. We've never had that. And you know, as an athlete, you're into a rhythm of how you do things. There was this big gap after the last day of qualifying before the race, and I was going crazy. And Martina called to congratulate me. I mean, this is another one of my sheroes. And she goes, so how are you doing, Lynn? And I, you know, she had that high lifting voice, you know, and I said, I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do because the race isn't for 2 days. She goes, just relax. She said, don't worry about it. She said, just live in the moment. And she said, when you get in the shower, you may put the conditioner on before the shampoo, but that's okay. Just keep living in the moment and you'll be fine. And so that's what I did.
Working Women magazine says you're one of the top 350 women who've changed the world from 76 to 96. What's next? What are you doing for the next 50 years?
Well, as you learned, I've just become a grandma. So
fastest grandma, and she's still racing, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, it's exciting because it's all new, really new. And the other is I'm an ambassador for the RPM Foundation, which stands for Restoration, Preservation, and Mentorship, which is a scholarship program for young people or anybody to get an education in how to work with their hands and restore or preserve vehicles, cars, boats, and planes. I've loved this because I love cars and I love history and I love young people and I believe in education. So if I can somehow leverage my contacts and my relationships to benefit others doing this, I'm liking it, it's fun. So that's one of the things that I'm doing on a regular basis, which takes me to concours and takes me to other kind of events other than just racing.
Final question, rank these attributes and where they are from top to bottom. So grandma, social change agent, race car driver, business lady, philanthropist. All of the above?
Oh, you're nasty.
Yeah, I am nasty, but you're nasty.
Well, I got to tell you, race car driver is still what feeds my soul. So that would go to the top of the list. The rest of them, they morph depending on the day and the moment.
To do 100 things a day, you do. Yeah. Most people will do 10 things a day, so thank you. Lynn St. James, everybody, thank you. Earlier, we told you about the Fiesta Bowl service to Phoenix and all of Arizona since 1971. The youngest franchise in the Phoenix sports landscape is Phoenix Rising FC, a United Soccer League team and the highest level soccer organization in the state. Rising FC recently hosted the USL Experience, an opportunity for talented players from across the country to learn about life as a professional athlete. The 2018 USL Experience started out with 72 boys and girls arriving in Phoenix and getting a first look at the Phoenix Rising FC soccer complex. Day one gave the players a chance to experience a true professional schedule, including a photo shoot, plus interviews and creating some unique goal celebrations. Day two, the group headed to the field for drills and scrimmages and a look at the training routine of a pro athlete.
They were able to train on our training field where the first team trained, so 2 different sessions. We had college scouts, U.S. soccer scouts, pro scouts out there watching them, just to show how important it is and to show kind of what an everyday environment's like when you have coaches watching your every move and your performance.
They also got to interact with Rising FC players, including former Premier League star and current Rising FC striker Didier Drogba. The final day meant actual matches and a chance to go behind the scenes before Rising FC's matchup against the Real Monarchs.
Overall, it's a great experience for them. It's free. They're maybe away from home for the first time alone with other high caliber players. There's kids from all backgrounds. We have a lot of kids here from Atlanta, Georgia that are we're part of a YMCA program that got discovered, a rec league, and now they're meeting, Didier Drogba tonight and at the game, and that really just changes the perspective. So it's something they thought they'd never be able to accomplish. All of them, if you ask them, have aspirations, right, to be on the national team or be a pro player, but they don't really know what goes into that. So it's a 3-day weekend to really see what that's like and see if they're cut out for it and if that's something they want to do. It's really bringing that dream into reality, that they're much closer probably to that dream than they even think they are.
Rising FC is already doing amazing work and has its eyes set on becoming an MLS franchise in the years ahead. When we come back, you'll hear another inspiring story about Fields and Future's impact in Oklahoma City. On our way to Phoenix, we were able to stop by Oklahoma City and check on the progress at Southeast High School, which will be the 21st and 22nd fields of 44 completed by Fields and Futures. 5 miles west of here, confidence and determination in the classroom is the difference between failure and success for many students, especially in Coach Moss's 8th grade math class at Roosevelt Middle School. Find out how a newly built athletic fields created an opportunity to play soccer for one middle school student while giving her a new sense of confidence that transformed her outlook on life.
I think math is a tough subject. Most people think of it as a tough subject, and some of them are ready to give up as soon as they see a paper with a paragraph on it that involves math. It's really sad too, when you see kids that are wanting to give up, but I feel like my job as a teacher is to make sure that they don't, whatever I have to do to motivate them. You have to find what motivates you, and if soccer or sports is what motivates students, then they should be involved in them.
I wasn't really so confident. I just had low self-esteem, but ever since I've gotten into soccer, I've actually got on a soccer field, and it just makes me feel it just changed the way that I feel about myself. I've seen the fields before. There wasn't any of the goals or softball fields or baseball fields, but getting on those fields knowing that they're purposely made for the sport that I'm playing, it just feels good. I just promised myself I would go through all the practices, the conditioning, and the games. I was really out of shape, and I was just I can't do this anymore, but she just kept screaming, push yourself, push yourself. While I'm in soccer, thinking about I have to do this, I have to go through all the conditioning and practices, it just makes me think about I have to go to school, I have to do my work. I just tell myself if I can do it during conditioning and practices, I can do it throughout life too.
I feel like sports instills determination into anyone that plays. When you see girls that are continuously fighting on a field, you see that translated into the classroom, and my hope is that it'll translate into their everyday lives when they go into high school and onto college also.
When we come back on Power of Sports presented by Group 1001, we'll catch you up on the best in sports and philanthropy in our segment we call the Social Spotlight. Each month we scan all the social media networks to find the most inspirational and inspiring stories of athletes giving back. It's the segment we call Social Spotlight. Here's Dwayne Taylor.
Thanks, Rick. 2018 marks the 50th anniversary of one of the first organizations to use sports for positive social change in the world. Special Olympics will hold a global celebration in Chicago in commemoration of its 5 decades of competition. Incredibly, the organization started as a summer day camp in the backyard of Eunice Kennedy Shriver, sister of John F. and Robert Kennedy. 50 volunteers helped that day, and now more than 1 million people volunteer for Special Olympic events around the world. In 2015, Omaha police officer Carrie Orozco was tragically killed on her last day of police duty before taking maternity leave for her adopted daughter. To honor Orozco, who was actively involved in coaching youth leagues throughout the city, more than 100 officers recently gathered for the groundbreaking of Carrie Orozco Memorial Ball Field in North Omaha. Police Athletics for Community Engagement, or PACE teams, will play on the field. PACE is an organization that aims to reach at-risk youth who couldn't normally participate in organized sports. It was Orozco's dream to have a state-of-the-art field in that part of the city for those teams to play on. That's your social spotlight for this month. Back to Rick in Phoenix.
Thanks, Dwayne. Well, that's it from Phoenix. Next month, we stay in the South and head to Dallas, where we find some inspirational and giving back stories from teams that call Big D their home. I'm Rick Horrow. See you next time on Power of Sports, presented by Group 1001.